The Givati Brigade soldiers who beat and verbally assaulted left-wing activists in Hebron on Friday were found at fault in the exchange. An investigation found that they acted, quote, unbecoming of Israeli combat troops and exercised poor judgment while acting against expectations in their use of unnecessary physical and verbal harassment. The report also finding that violent behavior against a citizen is both unacceptable and forbidden. Let's bring in I-24 News defense correspondent Jonathan Regev joining me live in studio this morning. Jonathan, the report also says that the soldiers' decision to detain the activists without the commander's approval was a mistake, and that arrests like this should be implemented by Israeli police or the border police. So what happens now to these individuals?
The individuals are sent for one specific individual, the one who said Ben-Gvir will come and make order here. He will be sent to 10 days in a military prison. This is not the first time that we see such incidents. What is perhaps different here than in previous cases? The political involvement. The fact that we see political involvement from right-wing politicians in support of the soldiers, saying loud and clear from just literally hours after it happened, saying these soldiers were constantly harassed by anarchists, by left-wing anarchists, and therefore their conduct should not be punished. It should actually be applauded. On the other hand, we have IDF commanders, when we have Defense Minister Benny Gantz saying, look at what is happening before the next government was even established. We have people that are on paper supposed to have very high rank positions within the next government, lashing out against the IDF, against commanders, against the chief of staff, and so on. So the political involvement, this is what's becoming really difficult here. These soldiers will spend 10 days in a military prison and will most probably go back to their unit. But the political involvement, the fact that the politicians are now so heavily involved in something that is eventually, at the end of the day, a military thing, an event happening within the army, not the first time, not the last time that soldiers are convicted of wrong behavior and sent to a few days in a military prison. The military involvement is a very big issue, and of course, when we look ahead to the next government and its formation, and to the people having some very high-rank positions within that government, that is something that is worrying people within the military establishment.
There was a lot going on in the backdrop of this issue, and a lot of people are curious. What happens after you get sentenced to a military prison? What happens after you are found at fault of breaking the rules in the IDF? What happens to these soldiers now?
You're not necessarily thrown out of your unit, depending, of course, on the offense on which you were charged. We heard these soldiers saying, at least one of them, the one that made that comment about Ben-Gvir coming and fixing things here, he already sent a letter of regret, saying he regrets what happens, and he understands that he acted incorrectly. I assume, again, I do not know for sure, but I would assume that the soldier will go back to his unit. He will spend the 10 days in a military prison and go back to the unit. There was perhaps some kind of expectation among his supporters that he will receive a lesser punishment due to that letter that he published. Eventually, his punishment remained 10 days in a military prison. You're not necessarily thrown out of your unit in this case, especially with this kind of offense. I would assume, we cannot know for sure, I would assume this specific soldier will go back to the unit.
I-24 News defense correspondent Jonathan Regev live in studio with us. Thank you.
Thank you.